Alright everyone, a bit of a late video, but it's also an important video that I kind of want to make because it's regarding the characters that are on the banner and your decision of pooling, especially after I've already had a bit of time playing around with Phrolova to share my thoughts on, which is going to be the best investment for you to make in this current patch between the characters. So currently, there are Phrolova and Roccia on the banner. There's also going to be Brant and Cantarella coming back in the second phase. Interestingly, for Phrolova specifically, her team is technically coming in this whole patch, which is Cantarella and Roccia. Now, I mean, honestly, if you already pulled for Phrolova and you don't have Roccia, I'm pretty sure you guys won't be able to, make it in time to get, Phrolova, especially if you're going for her weapon, and try to get Roccia as well. It's rather hard. I'm not saying it's impossible. We can get lucky, but just to get both Phrolova and Roccia, you're probably going to have to sacrifice maybe her weapon, which is obviously not something to do. But looking into Phrolova, basically what she do is that she's going to be kind of like I would say she's the sub DPS because she does do the majority of damage on your team as well, but overall she can be the damage dealer while being off field. And then if you have Cantarella and then Roccia, then Cantarella and the other character are going to be on the field for her to do what she's doing damage with her Hecate off field. Now honestly, it's not very hard to understand how she plays, but objectively speaking, we can just see her as another Havoc damage dealer. And at the current point, we already have quite a lot of Havoc character. I wouldn't say too much, but there are a number, like Camilla. If you guys already invest into her, Camilla is honestly still very good, and I'm pretty sure many of you are still using Danjin. But obviously the more important thing whenever we play Wuthering Wave is about the character themselves and how they feel when it comes to gameplay. And I say Phrolova gameplay is obviously really good. If you guys already tried her out in the trial, it feels good playing her. Her rotation times isn't too much because obviously the majority of her damage is obviously during her liberation state, which of course you can have Hecate being on the field. You actively having Hecate doing the damage on field, but obviously most of the time we wouldn't do that because during that time we can just switch her out and then have the other character being on the field for themselves to do the damage also. And more importantly, they themselves can use their echo, which obviously is a recommendation for the other character to be using your echo skill so that the Hecate can do a bit of the enhanced echo skill attack during that part. So basically, as we can have seen, she's more or less kind of like a sub DPS character on the team most of the time, which obviously I do enjoy playing her a lot. Now that being said, there are some consideration whenever we are trying to get Phrolova. Is that I think the biggest thing right now for Phrolova is she's a character that requires you the most investment across the game. I just have to say that because the difference between her signature with the other weapons that is currently available, especially for Rectifier, is just absolutely immense. So obviously it is kind of like a recommendation if you really are into Phrolova is to try and get her and also her signature, because she herself as a character isn't just basically a damage dealer. She can actually open up many other team comps potentially for some of your other characters and play around with her, which is really nice. And other than that, the thing is with her weapon, even though it does give you crit rate increase, the other parts mostly doesn't actually help you too much in terms of the passive, whereas you already have potentially the string master, which technically is going to be the more universal weapon overall if you do have this weapon. So pooling for Phrolova mostly and getting her signature is only going to be on her investment, and that technically is quite a bit of a gem pooling on your part. Not to mention her echo set, I think it's probably gonna be for her for a long time because this set is specifically Havoc, and also it only triggers whenever you have 0 energy. I don't think 0 energy Havoc character are going to be coming back soon anytime, especially with the fact that it only increases slightly a bit more of your crit rate and grants your echo skill damage bonus specifically. So this investment of a character is honestly really expensive at the current point, but in exchange you do get the potential to build quite a decent number of teams around with Phrolova. Now if you really want to, she being a sub DPS character, you can technically just fit her on any any of the team comp and she will be fine. As you can see here, we have Cantarella and Roccia, but honestly speaking, I don't think this two character is too much of a requirement for you to use Phrolova properly. I just have to say that because honestly, if you have Shorekeeper, you have invested into Shorekeeper, she's a really good character on Phrolova team. Not to mention, you know, other character like Havoc Rover, you can technically have a team Phrolova, Havoc Rover and Shorekeeper, and they will do absolutely fine. Or you're more free to play, you have Dungeon here, they are a great Havoc team. Not to mention if you have a S6 Dungeon, I think overall those characters just boost the Havoc team quite a lot. But more importantly, Phrolova is a character that buff heavy attack damage. The character, especially like Yijan, you can open up a bit more team for Yijan, which is nice, as Yijan team has kind of been locked with Morphe for a long time. So having Phrolova potentially being on the Yijan team, I think it's nice, right? Open up a bit more gameplay potential for a different character, and also Phoebe's as well. Phoebe is a character that do have access to quite a number of teams, but having Phrolova here, I think it's great. I like team diversity, especially when these characters in Wuthering Wave, they feels really good to play most of the time. So more diversity in terms of team comp is great, which is kind of like the thing I really love about Phrolova. And more importantly, if you guys already played the story quest, I mean, if you guys haven't checked out or want to have a look more into my random story quest, I do have a dedicated video on that. I love story quest. Phrolova is just such a deep character. I love her a lot. So I think many of you are going to be pulling Phrolova purely for the fact that we like her. I think that's a fine decision, and that's absolutely perfect. Other than that, Roccia is right next to her. I mean, Roccia is a great character. She's amazing in crowd control situations. However, crowd control situation isn't really too important in the game because many of the characters has access to really good AoE damage. Other than that, everything that she does, she has the ability to actually buff your character's attack depending on how much crit rate that she has. Basically, around a 70% crit rate onto Roccia build is going to provide you a maximum attack increase for your team, which is, I think, kind of nice. It's not too bad. Other than that, she does buff basic attack and havoc damage. So technically a perfect character for Camellia. If you are still on the board with Camellia, she's very good with her. But for Phrolova specifically, I don't think she's too much of a requirement for you to have on a Phrolova team. If you do have Roccia on Phrolova team, I think it's great. I like Roccia. It's not too bad, and it's great that I'm seeing more of a usage for Roccia, because before we only have Camellia mostly using with Roccia. Even I haven't been investing too much into Roccia because I don't have her signature. Most of the other character on my account, I do have that specific weapon on them. So she's a very simple character. We don't really have to invest way too much into her. If you like Roccia, you can pull for her, but honestly, it's not of a requirement, and I don't think she objectively stand out compared to many of the character. And obviously, if you've already pulled for Phrolova in this patch, it's going to be really hard for you to get Roccia. So I just have to put it out there is that it's not a requirement for you to have Roccia on Phrolova team. If you do have it, it is great, but I think, you know, you can replace her with Shorekeeper absolutely perfectly fine. But other than that, if you do have her crowd control ability, it's good to have at times. It feels really good crowd controlling your enemies and doing AoE attack to them, and she does pretty decent damage, and overall I think that is great. But Roccia generally isn't going to be as important as Cantarella compared to being in a Phrolova team, because Cantarella has her special ability of kind of like triggering her echoes mechanics so that she can trigger more of Phrolova Hecate's special attack, which is a nice thing. But again, even on that front, it is not too important to get Cantarella either. Now, the good thing about her is that she is a pretty good sub DPS character. She has Resident Skill, Havoc damage, which does benefit Phrolova. Other than that, she has access to healing capability, which is really nice, because then you don't really need Shorekeeper on Phrolova team to keep, you know, the character alive. And obviously, yes, she is absolutely stacked, and I'm pretty sure many of us love her for that. Now, for me personally, sometimes I feel that Cantarella is a little bit clunky to play because it's very important for her to actually get her enhanced forte version of her skill, as that's basically the requirement whenever you are playing Cantarella. And sometimes you get knocked out of it, which is really bad. And also sometimes if you don't have her liberation charging it, it's a little bit tough for us. And there are other times whenever I try to hold down the forte for her to go into her enhanced forte mode, it just doesn't. And you know, in Wuthering Wave, timing actually matters, is very important. So a little bit clunky for me to play sometimes, which is why I don't really enjoy playing her as much. But overall, she's still a very good character whenever it comes to Havoc kind of teams. I haven't been using Cantarella too much in the past because while most of the time it's only gonna be Camellia mostly, and I haven't been using Camellia that much either, which is why Cantarella is not a popular character that I've been using. But now Phrolova's back, yeah, she's gonna be a lot more frequently on our Phrolova team, and I wouldn't say Phrolova is too much of a squishy character. However, her HP isn't too high either, and she does look skinny, right? It feels as if she get hit by a big attack, it's not gonna be too good to her. And then you can actually have like a Cantarella Shopkeeper team and absolutely insanely heals Phrolova, and then making sure that she doesn't die, especially when it comes to a higher hologram version of the boss where I tackle Fleur de Lis, which is really good. But obviously, as you can have seen, Cantarella isn't a must-have character, right? She's more or less a off-field support, helping your team to have a bit of healing, which is rather nice. But with the fact that she's going to be in the second phase, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a very nice character coming in patch 2.6. Maybe, who knows, Augusta. Pretty sure many of us are going to be waiting for her. Therefore, it is not too much of a requirement to actually look into Cantarella right now, from what I can see, which is where it leads us to our lovely Brant. Now, Brant is a character that is obviously amazing on our specific fusion team, and technically it is mostly that at the current point. Yeah, if we look objectively in what he does, yeah, it's basically just him being a supportive character for your fusion team, and especially, you know, character like Chang Li. Now, if you really want to, you can tap him specifically on the team with character that's skilled with skill, and I think that's still going to be fine. But honestly, it is just fusion team. If you like fusion team, then you can have Brant, but if it's not, then yeah, it's obviously going to be a skip, unless once again you really like his gameplay. I mean, very special character, because yeah, it literally gives you a vibe of a pirate, right? If you like Brant's character, you like Mill, right? I think the selling point of Brant is that he's one of the few Mill characters we have in the game right now. So if you're collecting Husbando, you're probably going to be having him already. Other than that, you know, he's absolutely good looking. I like his personality, and he is able to dish out very high nuke number with whenever he is fully charged with his forte. I'm very surprised by that. So technically, he's a well-rounded character. It's not like he can't do damage, but in order for you to achieve that, he is also one of the more invested requirement character, I would say, because yes, he technically kind of would love to have his specific weapon. Energy recharge is so important for him. We do have other energy recharge weapon like the Overture. However, the passive on his signature is just way too good on him as well. It's just that if you really want Brant to actually deals damage, you need to have his weapon. Again, you can get away with giving him the Overture, but obviously you're just going to be able to see that it is slightly going to be harder for you to get the maximum energy regen requirement for the full buff that Brant actually gives your team. Other than that, he also is going to be doing a lot less damage. But yeah, if you're okay with that, if you just want your Brant to support properly for your specific fusion team with Changli and Lupa, I think that's kind of fine. But if you like Brant as a character, signature is obviously something that you want to invest in. Other than that, this guy is like the only character that's been using this energy regen set ever since it came out. So again, it is insanely high of an investment for you to go for Brant, especially when you need energy regen on the main stat, and also crit ratio probably built on the sub stat as well, which is insanely hard for me. Like even at the current point, my Brant isn't even properly built because it is that much of an investment into him. And more importantly, again, he is going to be in the second phase. Most likely Augusta is going to be coming right after. I don't know, maybe Augusta is going to be a fusion character and Brant is going to be able to support her very well. She does look like a fusion character with her, you know, character design. Oh, maybe now that you mentioned it, who knows, maybe she's going to be a spectral character, right? Because of the sun. Honestly, I don't know. But I think, guys, I think that's my thoughts on the current character banner. Again, a bit of a late video, but this is my thoughts. I hope that it has been helpful and useful to you. If you do have any questions, leave down in the comment section, and I or some other lovely Wuthering Wave player will get to you there. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to not miss out on my future Wuthering Wave video. With that, Brant and I will catch you on our next video.